guys, welcome to Nuhasal. So we're here for another episode. This one is actually still the interview. We're up to part 4 and the very last one. So in this episode, Pan gives us tips on how to raise, a mixed / African kid in Australia. African / Australian, you know what I mean. So she gives the tips like for people like me, and so on. So make sure you keep watching and let us know if you agree, disagree, or what you think in general. And thank you for watching.
Do you think like Australian kids will accept African kids, like wanna be friends, wanna hang out with?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Let's say, do they accept them because of all the stuff that they see in the news? Like, would they, even their parents will even allow it? Well, because if African kids struggle to be friends with Australian kids, I think they're gonna be like, oh, I have African friends, let me be with my African friends. And then the media saw only 4 of them walking on the street, they'll be like, oh, it's 4 African guys, so it's a gang. So is that the problem? Because if I feel like, okay, oh, these guys are being racist to me, so if I see an African guy, I'm going to be friend with an African guy, and then that African guy also join us, and then they saw 4 of us, they're going to be like, is it a gang? Or, because they're so 4 of us.
I think naturally you're drawn to your own type. So naturally, I mean, you have to be crazy like Sally and I, like you dating an African guy. That's crazy, right? Me dating a white guy, me dating a white dude. It's just equally as crazy. So, but I think you're drawn to your own kind. So I suppose depending on the foundations at home. So if you come from a family where people are very narrow-minded or black people are a bit funny or white people are funny, and then of course you're going to try and stick to your own. But if your parents are open-minded, where they say we are all equal and we're pretty much the same, it's just the color that is different. And then like my kids have got some of their best friends are Australian, Caucasian Australian, and like I said, my son was really close with the Chinese. We're not in touch anymore because they've moved away, but they had really great Chinese friends, and we had some Greek friends. So it depends. I mean, and then I know my auntie who would never allow her kids to hang out with a white person, point blank period. She's like, now white people are toxic. You know what I mean? Like, that's her perception. So it depends on what kind of home you come from.
Yeah, and I think that's also your experiences. If you've been tainted by racism, for example, extreme racism, I think sure. I can understand why there's a bit of that distance. Like some of the stuff Noah went through, I can understand.
Oh yeah. I was in, you should watch our thing about Austria, what we did about Austria. And I am not racist, though. I'm not very racist because my wife is white. But if I live extra 1 year in Austria, I would hate all white people. I swear to God. One more year, I would have been a racist black guy.
Noah, and don't they normally say that you are a product of your environment? So whatever you're exposed to a lot of, you become that. So if there's a lot of hatred towards you all the time because of your complexion, of course you've developed a dislike for the other people. But it's very important for parents to make sure that if your child happens to be so lucky and born in Australia, you really teach them both cultures. Do not neglect them by saying, I'm only going to focus on the African culture. Don't do that, because you'll be making a huge mistake. And don't also say, oh, because I'm in Australia now, I'm only going to teach them about Australian culture. You're also making a huge mistake, because there's going to come a time where they want to know, where is this skin from? Where am I from? They're going to ask you questions. And so it's better to teach them these values when they're still young, the differences and the importance of collaborating, working together, because now we are forced to work together. Like, you guys are going to have a mixed race child one day. Dude, there's no time to say African and white. You've got to have to work your shit out, right? You're stuck together. So you work your shit out, okay? You can't be racist.
You know what? 100%. I will not lie on this one. Yeah. I think conversation with you makes more fruitful. It's a very fruitful conversation.
Yes.
After my wife, I think you are the second Australian guy that I make very fruitful. Because when I came here, I have been having jobs like laboring, you know, tradies. Those people will not tell you anything about life. You know, most of their you know, their jokes and all about this whole sexism and racism and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this one here is one of my best conversations that I have since when I moved back. After the conversation with my wife, you are the second person like in Australia that I have a very good conversation. This is
thank you. It's important.
yeah, this right here.
That's thank you so much.
No, true.
Nice.
This is one of my
It's yeah, I think it's important as well as a community, like African or anyone who comes from a different country when you move to Australia. It's important for people that have been there to share their experiences, so then you don't think the world is against you, because sometimes it's quite frightening and you can think everybody's against you. So if you can find people that are positive, that have had good experiences with the Australian wider community, it's really good to try and make friends. Like, no, you've only been here for like a year or so. So I mean, I'll probably give you advice. You probably don't need it, but I'll do it anyway. The best thing, the best thing for you to do, as much as I hate to say that Australian people, they joke a lot, they tend to just, it's Australian culture. You know, when we talk about culture, Australian culture is pretty much based on joking. Like everything is a joke. I find that they don't take life very seriously. And so when they do things, they will do everything in a joking way, even if it might come across as offensive. They don't look at it that way. They think it's joke. Like I used to have people come to me when I was in high school, be like, "Oh my God, can I touch your hair? Oh, it feels like what is it? It feels like a tennis ball. Oh, frizzy." And I mean, I'm like, I'm not gonna go and touch your head and be like, "Oh my God, it feels like silk." I'm not interested. But then they did it in a joking way. But then I had cousins that would have the same experience, and they took it really too hard. It was like it's offensive for them. And I'm like, no, mate, just laugh at them. If they put their hands on you, put your hands back on them. Give them the taste of their own medicine. Laugh with them. Pick up their culture. Do things so then they don't feel like, because if you take everything like, you know, when people joke around, if you take everything so serious, your life would become more difficult because you want to keep away from that sort of nonsense. But in real essence, it is what it is. Because as soon as if you can get, if they can crack you like that with their jokes and you laugh at them and you crack jokes back with them, they would accept you very quickly. That's the only way to get in. That's what I found. Like I went to boarding school, and funny, I had girls that would come and do farts. Like who farts around? Like a woman farting. Who does that? But that's an Australian way of joking. That was an Australian way of the girls were joking, and I thought that's not funny. Where I came from, I'd get a big beating for farting in public. Like you're farting in public, and they thought it was the funniest shit ever. So then I started laughing with them. Every time they did it, I didn't get offended anymore. I was literally just laughing. Oh my God, that was the biggest, loudest fart I've ever heard. And then they accepted me. You know what I mean? Like it became the norm. And
our culture, to be honest, we're quite rude. Really, we think everything is a joke.
Yeah.
To the point where, you know, it's insulting and you should not say it. But Australians say it.
Yeah.
It's like it'll be called four eyes if you've got glasses, and they'll be like, "It's a joke," and it's like, "Well, I'm really offended." Like, but yeah, it's hard. I think it's a really difficult thing. I think also from an African, because you guys are very into manners, I think too.
Yeah.
And you're into that kind of, whereas Australians have, no offense to Aussies, but we don't have manners. A lot of the younger generations don't. And whereas like my nana's generation, they do. But it's just changed over time. I don't know where it's happened, but it's
and
quite,
your nan is like
she had her Pan-African.
Yeah,
maybe that was why.
It's very clean. It's a clean freak. It's like African basically.
Yeah, well, her dad was the one that was a clean freak. So anyway, we're going off topic. I want to ask you a few. I've only got a few more questions left. Just one question now is, what tips do you have for for parents of African children? What tips do you have? What are your main tips you would give them raising a kid?
Okay. So, you know what? I'm not expert in this area, but I'm a mom. And I think once you become a mother, you become an expert of some sort. So you can call me Dr. Mom. I think seriously, you do. So as an African parent, having grown up here and having experienced Australian culture and way of doing things and way of life and African way of life as well, I think the most important things we need to do as African parents is have an open communication channel for you and your child. Like, it's so important that you communicate with your kids, because when we first came here, there were so many barriers that were put up in my family. I had no one to talk to. I literally, even though there was 12 people in the house, there was no communication barrier. I couldn't talk to my older brothers because they were men, and there's certain issues I couldn't talk to them about. I couldn't talk to my sister because she was my older sister, and in my culture, I can't question my sister. So I was voiceless my entire life. I was silent, and that was because that's how we are raised in Africa. You don't speak back to your elders. You don't even question them intellectually, really. A majority of the time, you're a child, be quiet. So I think in Australian context, or people living in Australia, you really need to give your children that opportunity to actually be able to come and talk to you and communicate their worries to you and communicate the joyous moment, everything they're going through to you. That way, it's easier for them to trust you. So when there's a big problem, they can come to you rather than just having no one and locking themselves away, because a lot of stuff can really build up inside. So African parents, you got to relax, dude. The kids they're not murderers, okay? They're just human. So chill, take a chill pill, talk to your kids. What are you doing this weekend? Have interest, show interest in them. What sort of music do you listen to? Like, what do you like? Are you seeing anyone? Like, when they get to teenage, ask them, are you seeing anyone? Are you interested in anyone? No matter what they tell you, even some of them will come up and be like, I'm gay. Just be like, oh, you're gay. Oh, we need to talk. But accept them, and then you do not have a problem. Your kids won't run away from you, because I think our fear as African parents is that children will run away. We do not want our kids to run away. That's the number one fear in every African parent's mind. The kids will run away. They're not running anywhere if you allow them to voice their opinion, if you allow them to share things that they like to do, and if you support them in whatever they choose to do. Like, if your child is a fantastic runner, support them in running. Get a friend to help you take them to running if you don't have time, or you do it. If they like playing basketball, support them do basketball. Don't judge them. Because I know when I was growing up, I was a fantastic runner, but I was really discouraged. You didn't come to Australia to run. What are you running for? Who runs? Who does running for a living? So really discouraged to do sport. I was discouraged to do drama. So all these issues, I was really angry. So by the time I was 15, I was so mad. I was such an angry, bitter teenager inside. Like, obviously I didn't get to show it or express it, but I knew that I wanted to do other things, but I was being pushed or do law or do medicine, all these things that were not realistic to me. So a lot of Africans do that. So step back, listen to your kids, have the open channel where everybody can actually, no matter how old they are. Like, now my parenting style has changed a lot, because with my older kids, I was very strict. Then I realized this is not taking me anywhere. So I've stepped it down a notch. And now Scarlett and I, we talk. Scarlett talks back to me like, ma'am, and I'm cool. I have to be calm and listen to her little, I have to be calm and listen to her little voice and whatever shit she's saying. And then I'll be like, no, it's not like that. I'm the mom, So please allow your children to come and talk to you and get them into a lot of activities. The more your children do, the less drama you're going to have in your life, and the more discipline they're going to have in their life, and the more system they're going to have. So when they're old enough to work, they're going to understand time, they're going to understand working together, they're going to understand socializing with people. There's a lot of skills they can learn by being involved. So you carry them and push them out there. Yeah. Yeah, so that's all I'll say.
Yeah. So we've got one last question.
One last question.
Yeah. I'm sorry it's taking forever. Yeah. One question is, for a parent, so for, say, me, an Australian parent that wasn't raised in Africa or had African parents, what tips would you have for them raising an African child? Because, like, we're going to have a mixed child.
Definitely.
What tips would you give me as a parent?
I think it's important to know the background of your partner, to learn a lot about their heritage, what's important to them, because this is holy. It's like, you need to respect them and what they do as people, their ancestors and whatnot. So once you understand that and you value that, you can pass that on to your children. And then your children would have a strong foundation where they don't question anything. And that would result in having higher self-esteem than lower self-esteem. Because if you try and brainwash them and only teach them Australian way, but yet their skin color, their looks, everything doesn't really line up. They'll start to question. If they don't do it at a young age, they'll do it one day. And normally, if they don't do it to you, they'll turn to substance abuse. Like some of them will be drinking their problems away. There's a lot that can go wrong if people don't know where they're from. So as a mom who has maybe mixed race kids, so important that you teach them about everything. And not teach them about Australian. Obviously, they're going to pick that up because they're in Australia. There's no escaping. If there is a second language that needs to be learned in the household, it's important you embrace that and teach them about that as well. And have enough in the house that they know that this is a home where we appreciate both cultures. We appreciate his side, and we appreciate my side. So everything is visible to the eye for them. So they're not going to question, you know what I mean? So I guess that would be the only advice.
Did that just stop?
Okay. That was my fault. Sorry. That would be my only advice.
I think that's really good advice because I didn't even think of that. It was a little thing. I think that's really important. And don't worry, they'll be learning Mandinka, won't they?
Oh, they'll be learning my language already.
Anyway, that was so fantastic to talk to you. I wish we could talk longer.
Oh yeah, we could go for the whole day. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure we're going to do a collab again.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. I hope you enjoyed talking to us, and so thank you so much. Yeah,
thank you so much, man. This is good for me,
I think it was good for me. It was so educational for me because I'm going to have kids eventually very soon, and I think it's really scary in a way of being having a mixed child, and I do worry about that whole idea of them not mixing. In both sides, like that story about that girl that only want to hang around with Australians. I don't want my kid to feel that way. I want my kid to have both worlds.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. I had a fantastic chat with you guys, and hopefully in the near future we can do some more collab. We're a community, okay? So we're going through a lot of challenges, as I'm sure you guys would have experienced being a mixed couple. We go through our challenges as well. So it's important that we can help each other and educate each other. So we're going to turn to you, Sally, to teach us a bit more about Australian culture. And then obviously if you need anything about African perspective, you can always turn to me, or you're lucky you've got your husband there. But thank you so much for having me. It was a fantastic time. Worth it. I know it's literally taken 2 weeks to put this together, but the wait's been worth it, I think, in my opinion. I think it's definitely been fantastic. It's quite an eye-opener.